أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ولا تنكحوا ما نكح آباؤكم من النساء إلا ما قد سلف إنه كان فاحشة ومقتا وساء سبيلا رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي فالحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ثم أما بعد Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In this section I was sharing with you a group of ayat in which shamelessness is mentioned. These few ayat are just referential in nature. So I'm just going to let you know what the ayah numbers are and you can look them up yourselves. It's not really directly related to our topic except one thing, just an expressions thing. So in ayah number 22 of Surah An-Nisa, what's been established is any practice that is absolutely disgusting and unacceptable is also called fahisha, something that's disgusting and unacceptable. Like the Quraysh before Islam had a pretty disgusting practice, which was that, obviously they had polygamy, so they had multiple marriages. And if the father or the husband died, then the son would not just inherit the father's wealth, he would also inherit his other wives. So he would get his stepmoms in inheritance as married women to him. And this disgusting practice was called maqt. So Allah says, وَلَا تَنْكِحُوا مَا نَكَحَ أَبَاؤُكُمْ. Don't marry whoever your dad's married. You can't do that anymore. So that practice was put to a close. What those ayat teach us, even though you might argue, well, that's not happening anymore, so how is Quran eternal guidance for us when this practice is gone? Of marrying who your parents married. Well, this may occur. Number one, this social weird circumstance might occur. And second of all, what it teaches us is the Quran came to deal with social evils that were unique to that society, but so long as they qualify as fahisha, the Quran is against them. Which means that social evils in our time may take different forms. So it's, that's why al-fawahish, we're going to get to the ayat of Surah Al-An'am eventually, that the shamelessness is not one thing, it takes many, many, many forms. It could be entertainment, it could be, social practices, it could be, clubs, it could be, certain settings. But all of them are explicitly wrong. So long as your common sense tells you this leads to shamelessness, this leads to evil, it doesn't take a PhD to figure that out, and it's wrong, it's unacceptable. Okay, so that's Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 22. In ayah number 15 of Surah An-Nisa, another very important social principle is mentioned, and that is وَاللَّاتِي يَأْتِينَ الْفَاحِشَةَ مِن نِّسَائِكُمْ فَاسْتَشْهِدُوا عَلَيْهِنَّ أَرْبَعَةً مِّنْكُمْ. The women who have committed shamelessness among you, then you should seek 4 witnesses against them. Instead of using the word zina, Allah used the word al-fahisha, which is the worst kind of fahisha is zina. So women that have committed adultery, seek 4 witnesses out against them. Now, it's practically impossible for someone, because usually this kind of thing, a wife cheating on her husband or something like that, this sort of an evil thing happens behind closed doors. It doesn't happen out in public. Right? So the idea of seeking 4 witnesses that were witness to that happening is almost impossible. It's practically impossible to have 4 witnesses. And the reason Allah mentions, one of the wisdoms of this law is that you're actually, in 99.9% of the cases, not going to be able to execute any punishment against these people. You're not going to be able to do that because they're not going to have 4 witnesses. It's just not going to be, it's not practically possible. The other thing is, maybe you have 100% evidence that this is going on. You have 100% evidence. But you don't still have, it's just one person, you don't have 4 witnesses. Then, if that is the case, you're still not able to make a case against them. You're not. And what's the wisdom in that? The wisdom in that is Allah does not want these sorts of cases to become public conversation. He doesn't want these kinds of things to come out all the time. You know what these kinds of things are? These are the cover of Inquirer magazine and those dirty magazines that are on the grocery store aisle, right? Who cheated on who, and who did this with who, and who did this with what, right? And these are the kinds of things that are Jerry Springer material. We're in the Jerry Springer society, right? So these things are out in the open. and everybody accuses everybody else, and they'll have like, genetic tests to see whose baby it is at on the talk show and all that garbage, right? This is the low level to which the society has reached, unfortunately. Technologically, we in the United States are one of the most advanced societies in the world, even though that's changing quickly too. But we're pretty advanced technologically, economically, as far as infrastructure. When it comes to social values, you just watch 5 minutes of a show like Jerry Springer, and you realize we're barely human. What is that? Those are human beings? What happened to the idea of dignity and decency? Where did it go? This is being celebrated, and entire scores of audiences are sitting there clapping. Talk shows in the morning, these radio talk shows, the dirtier they are, the filthier they are, the more inappropriate they are, the more popular they are. And you have people that are well educated and everything else, but when it comes to decency, they're as jahil as a monkey. They're that jahil. And it's celebrated. This kind of shamelessness is celebrated. You'll have, in entertainment, you're going to have paid TV channels. Right? You have like the HBOs and the Showtimes and all these kinds of channels. And you'll have the most explicit content and explicit comedy and explicit, language on those channels. So you have to pay extra because you're paying for something more premium. And what's more premium? Something that's filthier. Something that's more disgusting than what's already available. As if the stuff that's already available isn't disgusting enough. Right? So there's this idea of celebrating the demise of humanity. Almost. We're deteriorating as human beings, and we're celebrating that, subhanAllah. That's the culture that we've come to inherit, and unfortunately so many Muslims are accepting it. So now, in this particular ayah, 4 witnesses are supposed to be sought against a woman that's done wrong to her husband. Which is, again, I said, impossible. Why? Because this should never become casual conversation. This should never become open conversation. And so one person accusing another, or accusing a woman, out of the question. And by the way, by extension of that, if you know that somebody, there's a girl in school, and you know her family, but you think she's got a boyfriend or something's going on, you're like, maybe I should tell someone, right? That kind of situation happens, maybe I should tell someone. Then the first person you talk to is herself. And you tell her, listen, I was going to go tell your brother, but before I did, I thought I should tell you. Why do you hate me so much? No, it's because I love you. But you can think that, that's fine. I'm still going to tell your brother in a week. If I ever see you again like that, then I feel obligated. Now you don't have to go tell her brother, hey, you know what, your sister? You don't have to do that. You can be indirect. I was just concerned about your sister. Inshallah, maybe you can talk to her about a concern. Be very indirect. Don't come outright and accuse. It's not appropriate. It's not right to do that. Find some creative way of bringing the problem, like highlighting the problem, without actually accusing the person. But you can scare the life out of them. That's a good thing. You should go to them. I'm telling your mother, I got a picture of you. It's going up online. And the first person I email is your father. Do that. That's a good idea. But I'll lose a friend. Yeah, but you saved their life. It's good. It's good for you. Okay? Because those people need a good scaring. And if they don't care, they don't care. Because some people are at the point where, yeah, I was going to run away with them and tell my parents later anyway. Some youth have reached that state, unfortunately. And that the only thing you can do at that point is dua. Because crying and... Should I tell you now? I should tell you now. This thing that's happening in our communities, it's happening and it's the fault of our children, and it's also the fault of our parents. Your girl's 20 years old, and you keep bringing her boys from Pakistan to marry, from India to marry, from Bangladesh to marry, from Cairo, from Ba'labak. Marry, this is a good one. This is a good one. This is my cousin. This is my cousin's brother's nephew's barber's son. He's good. And she's like, no, Dad, no. And you know what comes in her head? What comes in her head is my parents will end up marrying me to a goat. So I got to think for myself. Because they clearly don't understand who I am. They don't know who I am. So she'll take matters in her own hand. And then you'll be sitting there crying when she runs away. Which you did that. You put her in that position. Because you never openly talked to her about marriage. And the same thing with your boys. Who do you want to marry? You don't, if you want to hold on to your class society business, then you came to the wrong country. You came to the wrong country if you wanted to hold on to your class setup. Because in this country, when you stand in the line at McDonald's, of course for a fish sandwich, right? You guys are conservative. When you stand in the line at McDonald's, I don't care if there's a CEO of IBM behind me and the head of Facebook in front of me, we're going to stay in one line. And we're going to go when our turn comes. There is no class. There is no class. But back home, there's a lot of class society, isn't there? And you bring that mentality here, and it's the wrong continent. Sorry. And your children, whether you accept it or not, are more American than anything else. They're more American than anything else. And so all of those values that you have that have nothing to do with Islam, but you've made them somehow a big part of your life. So big that it's even bigger than Islam. They will come to haunt you and will ruin your life in America. They will destroy your life. Because you are not understanding where you're living and what kind of life your children are leading. You're just not understanding it. So don't put our kids in that position. That's why I said start talking to them about marriage when? Young age. So they know they can talk to you about it. A boy should not feel like if I bring up marriage to my mother, she will kill me. Or if he brings it up to his mother and says, Mom, don't tell Dad. Anything but Dad. There's something wrong with that. There's something not right about that. We have to open up this process. We have to make it easy within our family. And the more you hold on to back home tradition of you're going to marry one of your cousins who has one of those Pakistan International Airlines mustaches. They're really nice, but, right? Ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So, and so we are as guilty in this crime as they are. And by the way, they're not innocent. When they're an adult, they have to decide, take matters, they're responsible to Allah. They are responsible to Allah. And the other thing we're doing, we're pushing our children into illegitimate relationships. Everywhere they go, every boy has a relationship with a girl. Every girl has a relationship with a boy. They see relationships all the time and they say, man, I wish I had a relationship. And guess what? Is that natural or no? It's natural. I wish I had a relationship. I wish I had somebody I could love. I wish I had somebody I could talk to. All these guys, they do haram. I don't want to do haram, so let me just talk to my parents about marriage. And then every boy that comes for the girl, you say no, 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 no. What do you want her to do? What do you want her to do? And then she goes to university, she's around men all day, some of them good. And even she might even have the thought of suggesting them to you, but she can't, because you've closed every door. And then she calls the sheikh and says, we have to obey our parents, but he's ruining my life, what should I do? Right? Why do you put your children in that position? Why don't you have any mercy on your children? You brought them to this country. You brought them to a country where most kids are already exposed to pornography. You brought them in a classroom. You put them in a classroom where every other person has a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You brought them here. So why are you blaming them for wanting to, and if you can't even give them the halal way out, shame on you. You're ruining society. You're ruining the ummah if you don't take responsibility. Parents, get your act together. Get your act together when it comes to this. And youth, get your act together. If you want to tell you, and boys, let me talk to you boys for a second. I've been meaning to talk to you. If you're 17 or 18 and saying, Mom, I want to get married, because this is urge. I don't know what to do about it, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Ali Imran, ayah number 114, زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ. I just memorized that part. Right? Because I need the Quran to help me out here. Let me tell you something. First turn into a man, then worry about getting married. You working? How many hours? You helping out with the finances of the house? You taking care of business? You manning up? You helping out your father with the business? You're paying for your own school? Standing on your own feet? No, I'm a junior in college. What's your major? I don't know. I thought it was accounting, but I took a couple of courses and I failed. And so I'm thinking I should do political science. What are you going to do for work? I don't know, I'll figure that out when I graduate. Really? Because that just means you're still a child. I don't know why you have that strange accent, but man up. Get direction in life. Start working while you're in college. You want to talk about marriage? Start working while you're in college. Pay your own tuition. Man up. If you have to work at the Gap and sell t-shirts, if you have to go change tires at a car station, doesn't matter. If you have to be the guy the guy that does the valet parking, you know, doesn't matter. Get an odd job, doesn't matter. It'll prepare you for life. Getting yelled at by your boss when you're late to work will prepare you for life. Stop being a spoiled brat that is playing PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 8 hours a day, and then he says, Brother Nouman, how do I tell my parents I want to get married? When you become a man, you can get married. Then you have a case to make. Look, Mom, I'm carrying my own weight. Look, Dad, I've been working. I can support a family now. I can take care of it. And this is a conversation about maturity that's really important for both parents and young people. You know, Texas, alhamdulillah, a lot of Muslims are moving here because it's, you know, low cost of living. I mean, obviously in New York, I couldn't afford a house. I couldn't afford to do what I'm doing here. In Texas, obviously like drastically cheaper, which means we have more disposable income, which means we're probably paying for the tuition of our children when they go to college. Those of you that have kids that are going to college, show of hands please. Show of hands, kids going to college? A few of you, okay. You know, don't be ashamed, it's okay. He says he only goes sometimes. But anyway, so if your kids are going to college and you're paying their tuition and you bought them a car and you're paying for the insurance and you got them health insurance and then you know what? They're adults with beards and you know they've hit puberty already, but actually when it comes to dealing with life, they're still children. Because they haven't taken any responsibility, and that's why they can cut classes and fail and take another semester, because daddy's always there to pay tuition. And if dad gets mad, mom will pay. Mom will make him pay anyway. It's okay, I got it. I got this. I got my plan, you know. So if that's the case with you, then the parents are responsible for not letting their children become adults. I mean, I'm talking about outside of med school. Med school, you can't do anything. Sorry, your life is over. But that's everybody else. The only thing you can do is be presidents of masjids afterwards. But it happens. I don't know how it happens, but it happens. Nationally, it is a national sunnah of American Muslims. Become a doctor, then run a masjid. Sorry, doc. But anyhow, if you don't start working ahead of time, then you know we're living in tough economic times, right? Nobody's going to hire somebody with a degree in their hands and no work experience. Nobody's going to hire you. And then you'll be sitting on a chair, another few years before I should get married. Or I can get married, my parents can support me because the parents should support us. What happened to chivalry? Ayn al-muru'a. What happened to just being manly? Be that. And then you can get married. Absolutely, you should get married. If you're mature enough, you should get married early. And I'm speaking, and I don't consider myself an ideal case by any stretch of the imagination. I was a spoiled brat myself when I was a teenager, but my family had to move from New York, and I was living by myself in New York. I've been working 40 hours a week since I was 17, full time. High school, college. I took an extra year in college because I was working full time. 40 hours is the minimum I ever worked, right? But you know what? I'm really grateful for that. I'm really grateful I had to pay my own college tuition. I'm really grateful I only had $21 left almost exactly every single month in savings. Like it was by the T. I knew which days I have to eat one slice of pizza and which day I have to eat one fish fillet sandwich from McDonald's. It was like budgeted out by the day to survive. How much I can spend on the subway, how much I can spend on food, how much I can spend on this or that, or the tuition, how much I need to save. And sometimes I didn't save enough and I couldn't take 12 credits, I have to take 9 credits. But you know what? It really, really helped me in life. That difficulty really helped me in life. I'm really grateful that I was in that situation. I'm very grateful for that. I see that young people nowadays are not in that situation. Everything is taken care of. Everything is taken care of. And they never face the reality of having to stand on their own feet. The thought doesn't even cross their mind. So when their dad says, go clean out the backyard, they go, don't we have lawnmowers for that or something? Can I just spend my allowance and go get some guys from Home Depot to do it? You don't have any work ethic. Then you can't talk about marriage. Then you should not be talking about marriage. Because marriage is about running a household on your own. It's not just about, man, I'm going to marry this beautiful girl, and it's going to be halal too. There's a lot more to marriage. Okay? So that was my rant to young guys. Sorry. Okay. So now fahsha is mentioned on 3 occasions in Surah Al-A'raf, ayah number 80, in Surah An-Naml, ayah number 54, and Surah Al-Ankabut 28. I'll repeat myself. Al-A'raf 80, An-Naml 54, and Al-Ankabut 28. 3 times it is mentioned to refer to homosexuality. 3 times in Quran. The nation of Lut. Okay? It is lewd, unacceptable behavior in Islam. Does that mean that somebody has those kinds of feelings that they're evil? Not necessarily. Not in Islam necessarily. But if they act out on those feelings, it is fahish. That those feelings might exist. And those feelings are becoming more and more common. In rare cases, they may be considered natural. There are some, even some Muslim scholars talked about that historically. But actually more and more it is becoming common because of, and this is my own theory, you don't have to agree with it, because of the rampant, profuse injection of pornography into society. People are watching this stuff and they're getting bored and they're getting unstimulated and they move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And that's why we're getting all kinds of heinous crimes in our country, even against children and all kinds of things. This is a result of profuse introduction of of pornography into society, that it doesn't do anything for you anymore. And you just move on to the next high and the next high and the next high. And this is a disgusting state to be in. It's unacceptable. And people who have those kinds of feelings, in Islam, we don't judge people, we judge actions. We say that the action is unacceptable to us. That the act of homosexuality, or anything even close to it, is unacceptable to us in Islam. And we don't approve of it. But we don't consider the people who have those feelings evil or hellbound. That's not the position that we have. And here's the incorrect position. Well, we're Muslims, we have nothing to say about this issue. Because if you're not a Muslim, then your bigger problem is shirk. You're going to hell anyway. So what do we worry about, you gay or straight? Who cares? That's actually not the case. Lut alayhi salam was worried about the evil of his society, and they did not believe. He was still worried about the evil of that society. You understand? Because fahsha, it actually affects all of society, not just the Muslims or non-Muslims. It has an impact on all of society. So all of us are victims of it if it becomes something acceptable. Now I know what I'm saying is politically incorrect, and it's unacceptable in many circles. But you know what? We cannot hide behind political correctness when it comes to our deen. There are going to be people that are offended. Some of you are so taken in by this kind of mentality, you go to high school, you see friends that are gay or lesbian or things like that, and you wonder to yourself, what's wrong with that? I mean, it's just, they are who they are. Why can't just we accept them for what they are? Who said anything about not accepting or not accepting? We said what you do is wrong. Just like dating is wrong, just like having a boyfriend is wrong, just like that, that behavior is wrong. Now if you have those feelings, Allah knows where those feelings came from. Maybe they came from shaitan, maybe you have a natural problem. We don't know. We don't know. So we can't judge. Because you're not judged in Islam by your feelings. You're judged on your actions. The actions remain unacceptable to us. They are just as unacceptable as zina. It's just unacceptable. That's it. It's simple as that. So, 3 places where it's mentioned in this way. Then, fahisha is also used for, fahisha mubayyina actually. Fahisha mubayyina is a phrase in the Quran, Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 19, uses that phrase to describe if a woman has done something obviously wrong, meaning you didn't even need 4 witnesses, she went out in public and did something, and everybody knows about it, then it's called fahisha mubayyina.